Hi, thank you very much for joining me for Painting of the Week. This is our third episode, and today I'm very excited because we're going to talk about contemporary British painter Jenny Saville, born 1970. She is an extremely exciting figurative painter who has experienced an immense amount of success in her career. She currently holds the record for the most expensive painting sold at auction by a living female artist. So that's pretty good. We're going to talk about why these works are masterful and why her success within the art world is good for everybody. So this is one of two Jenny Saville works that we're going to look at today. This first painting is entitled Fulcrum, and it is really, it's both a quintessential Jenny Saville piece and it's also a quintessential piece of contemporary realism, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. So she's working within her primary motif, which is that of the female nude. There's a lot of tight cropping that's happening here. For example, we have two heads and an elbow, which are just completely cut off, which is such an interesting choice that I can't wrap my head around. So maybe we'll have a conversation about that. And then the last thing that is just so characteristic is that this really feels like an investigation of flesh tones more than even a figurative painting, which is so interesting if you think about it, that the figure itself feels subordinate to the tones that comprise it. But I'm just smacked with that response when I look at this. And I've intentionally chosen a photo that has someone looking at the painting so that we can kind of get a sense for the scale, which is also something that's very characteristic of her work. This painting is absolutely monumental. Is it a painting or is it a small mural? I mean, it's just that big. I think about that all the time when I look at big works. It's like, this is a small mural, and this is amazing. So you imagine that if you're standing 6 or 12 inches from the painting, it probably just looks like an abstract piece of work, and then you step back and you see that it's actually all this abstract brushwork actually comprises the figure, which is just so cool, and which is why it's also such a quintessential work of contemporary realism, in that it represents the world. We have figures being represented which are anatomically accurate, but the brushwork is so loose, and we're made so aware of the fact that this is paint applied to a flat surface. And I love that. There's such an honesty about that, and that's really a phenomenon in painting that only happened post the camera being invented. Artists were confronted with this need to do something that the camera can't do, which is create texture, which is be honest about the fact that this image is really an accumulation of material built up on a two-dimensional surface. So all these things are happening here. I want to talk about two more things with this painting. One thing is the fact that there's not big loud contrast in this painting. For example, we don't have dark darks, we don't have light lights, which is our primary vehicle for creating contrast in a piece. It's pretty medium key, and the main contrast that's actually being employed here is that of temperature shifts within the colors. So we have these cooler sections, and then we have these warmer sections, and the cooler sections actually heighten the warmth in the warmer section. So that's it's not different from putting two complementary colors next to each other, and they're actually gonna heighten their signal. So if we put a red next to a green, it's gonna make the green more green, it's gonna make the red more red. Same thing happening here. The punctuations of cooler marks actually make those warm colors even warmer. And I think that there's kind of there's a translucency happening within these flesh tones. I mean, they're not, to some degree they feel really exaggerated, but to another degree, I mean, I think we could hone in on any type of color happening in the flesh and we could believe that that same color would be represented in our reality as well. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that she's making it look easy. And that's typically, that's typically the hallmark of a master. She has these big, exciting brushstrokes composing the picture, and at one level of resolution, it's like it looks easy, it looks arbitrary, and the fact is it's not. And we're actually going to look at our second picture and really further investigate that idea. This second work is entitled Propped, and it's not hard to see why. And this actually is the work that fetched her the record price at Sotheby's. And I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy that there is an active investment made in living artists. And I'm very happy that there's an active investment made in figurative painting. Because I think there was a time really where people thought the figure was dead, representing reality was dead, and just driving full force off the cliff of representing nature in the world around us was just thought it would be obsolete. And we have works like this that kind of reinforce the idea that the figure is still exciting. We're not done dealing with the figure, and the figure can be interpreted in new ways. And it's like, if there's any takeaway from this episode, I think that it's that. And Jenny Saville is just achieving all those things in our contemporary time. And it's cool to see that reflected in the art market as well. So I just want to talk about a couple things. She's doing the tight cropping on the head again. It bothers me, but I imagine that she did that to bother me. So you figure that she's creating a situation where she's eliciting a response like this, and she's definitely getting it because it bothers me. It's like, why did you do that? It's hard for me, and I'm really curious what you guys think. Does the fact that the face is cut off reinforce it as a focal point, or does it de-emphasize it? Because I actually feel like, for me, I'm spending more time up there looking at the face because it is cut off. I mean, the portrait is always going to kind of be a de facto focal point because we've evolved to just kind of engage with people right in their face and their eyes, even more so. So I'm gonna, when you show me a painting, like, I'm gonna try and find the face first. But the fact that it's cropped actually has me spending a little more time up there. And then I just want to talk about one more thing, which is like why this is just beyond masterful. And something is happening here which is just so difficult to achieve, and she achieves it. Which is, we have two hands and two knees coming forward at us in space. So there's foreshortening happening here. And then these are kind of classically understood as some of the most difficult parts of the body to articulate. So that's such a double whammy. Hands and knees, which are architecturally so complicated, coming at us in space. And furthermore, she's making it look easy because of the loose brushwork, which at least like we perceive as loose, but in reality is just like masterfully applied, and probably each tone that was maybe quickly put down on the canvas was probably given a ton of scrutiny. So, I mean, just think about that. Like, look at your knee. Look at all the subtle architecture that's happening in your knee to compose that form, and then push it forward in space on a flat surface. That's what's happening here. Do that, and then don't even overwork it. Apply it loosely and spontaneously, or at least in a way that feels that way. Masterful, masterful. And the more I look at these paintings, the more I'm really able to appreciate that masterful quality that is just coming out in her work, and why these paintings are so exciting. And for me, the longer I look at them, the more I have to say, which is why like I felt really disorganized in this episode as far as organizing my thoughts, because like it's just amazing. And then just I'll end on this note. She's also articulated gravity on this flat surface. I mean, we really feel the weight of this figure. What do you guys think? These works are jarring, truly, and they're so many different things, and they elicit so many different feelings in me. And I'm genuinely curious what y'all think, what your kind of first level of response is, and how it feels when the more time you look at these. Believe it or not, I tried to do a shorter episode today, and I don't think I achieved that, but I really do appreciate you sticking around, and we'll see you next week.